Thank you, Jillian. As Jillian said, my name is Susan Stanton, and I am the network lead for the Illinois Afterschool Network. I'm excited to share with you a little about what's going on with ESSA, and I just want to echo a little bit of what Jillian said, that for us, outside of state or federal funding streams, we've been really excited about ESSA because it's really an opportunity to go beyond those funding streams and build some strong partnerships. So in Illinois, we've been involved with ESSA from, very early on in the beginning. It started off when our state started developing its state plan. When that plan came out, as Jillian and Nichelle kind of hinted to, it was a long document and there were 3 different versions of it. And so what we tried to do for the field to keep the field involved was to, as a staff, digest it and provide summaries and comments based upon that. So every time a version of the plan came out, we would review it, and then we would update our comments and feedback for the plan. And then we made those comments available to all of our members and encouraged them to submit them electronically. But while all of this kind of electronic commenting was going on, there were also listening tours being held around the state about the ESSA plan. And while we sent that information out to all providers that we work with, we knew that we knew exact locations for the listening tour locations, and we wanted to make sure we had people there. So we actually did specific outreach to advocates we knew were in those areas and asked them specifically to go and gave them sample talking points to present. So even though, we ask everyone to stay involved, for us, we've found in the past that if you really want someone to participate in a certain way, that sometimes that individual act is the best way to go about it. And so we targeted folks based on locations of where those events were happening. Something else we tried to do with ESSA in this initial state plan phase to get more folks involved was we knew that, reading through state plans or reading through our comments or, speaking in front of people at the listening tours, that wasn't everyone's cup of tea. And when we think about our after-school programs and who really benefits from them, we thought about the youth and the parents. So we actually developed parent and youth supporter cards about ESSA, and what we did was we provided those to some after-school advocates, and we asked them to hand them out at pickup time, to do them with students in class. And so we wrote a note on the cards about ESSA and making sure after-school was a part of it. And then we simply just asked parents and youth to write why they like their after-school program on it, and then their information. That was particularly helpful for us because it really just underscored, for communities around Illinois, why after-school is so important, and really kind of gave it a more humanized face, and it wasn't kind of just this cut and dry comments we were providing. So then what we did was we collected over 1,000 of those, and we sent them to our Illinois State Board of Education, which is our equivalent of some folks in their states have departments of ed, so that's our FEA. And we got feedback pretty soon after. When you drop off 1,000 postcards, folks start to pass them around, and they're like, what's going on here? And we have people from the State Board of Education who are part of our leadership team as well, and they were kind of able to tell us that these were getting noticed. And it was right after we submitted those that our network ended up in the state plan, and they included some more of after school. So these actions were time consuming, but they were definitely effective. So now that we're kind of beyond that phase in Illinois, we're starting to work more on district implementation. And I think Nichelle was talking a little bit about some of the things that we've done in some ways with creating these resources. So what we've been doing is we want to make sure we empower local advocates to take action on their own. Now that the state has released their plan, we really want advocates talking with districts thoughtfully about how they can collaborate with after-school programs. So we've created a whole host of resources that I'm going to walk you through in a minute. We've created district recommendations, a one-pager, strategies for how to reach out, talking points, sample outreach letters, sample program one-pagers. So really it's kind of start to finish what you would need to do this outreach. We then took all of those resources and we recorded a webinar for folks in the field to kind of, again, walk them through ESSA, make sure they were understanding what the opportunities are that were available, and then walk them through how to take action in this way. And we've also done similar presentations at conferences in Illinois as well, kind of trying to mobilize folks to do this work. The end game, kind of after all these resources are created, has been to work with two different groups of targets. And so one is internally we have a group called the After School Advocates, and these are providers who are particularly interested in taking a leadership role and taking action for after school. They aren't all 21st century. Some are school-age child care providers. Some receive state funding. Some are faith-based. So it's really a mixed bag of folks, but they all believe in the power of after school. So we've been working with them and have started trying to set up some meetings with school districts representatives where they're from, because they're from all over the state. And in addition to that, we also have a White Riley Peterson fellow on staff. And what she did was she focused on districts that have Title I funds that didn't receive 21st century grants. And so we were able to kind of pull those lists. And so we knew that these were districts where there were low-income kids who could benefit from these services, but we also know that they weren't getting the assistance that they need in after school. But because there was a 21st century grant, we know that there was grant application, we knew that there was a possibility or a capacity for more after-school programming in their area. So we went through those lists and pulled out some targets as well, and we've been working with them to familiarize them with ESSA, get them on board with starting up these conversations, and we're in the middle of, again, starting to set up some of these conversations with districts as well. So that's kind of start to finish, how we've approached the district implementation piece. Is really, we started off with creating these resources. We're now in the process of getting them in the hands of folks, and then really thinking strategically about where are strong areas to target, and now we're starting to do some of the outreach. So that's kind of what Illinois' path has been. I want to show you guys a few of our resources. The first few kind of work to help familiarize people with ESSA. So this piece is much more dense than anything else we've created, but these are our school district recommendations. And we focused our recommendations on several different categories. We focused them on family engagement, STEM, college and career readiness, literacy instruction, and training and evidence-based practices. And so what this document does is it starts off by, again, recapping ESSA, what it is, why it's, what the important links are with after school, and then we dive into each of these areas and we talk a little bit about how ESSA and the state plan, provides for opportunities for after school and in-school partnerships, either with funding or just building more formal partnerships or collaboration. So we kind of pull out those pieces of the law. We explain kind of how after school can be strong partners in this work and apply it. And then you'll see kind of in that middle screen part of this document, a bunch of bullets. And so after each section, we've created a list of specific strategies school districts could take if, for example, they wanted to pursue working with after-school programs on family engagement. We've created specific strategies based on resources that are out in the field. So we worked, with toolkits and resources from notable sources that are out there as well. And you can see at Act Now, we tend to be a little footnote happy. And so we kind of cited where all these ideas were coming from so folks know that they were tested and they weren't just kind of pulled out from nowhere. And then after each section, you'll see a little block, and those are specific stories from the field. So what we did was we took after-school programs in Illinois doing stellar work in each of these areas, and we created a little vignette about them. So we have all of those, all the information about the law, the strategies, and then the stories for all 5 areas. So family engagement, STEM, college and career readiness, literacy, and training and evidence-based practices. So that's a lot of information, and I think it's been helpful for people who are really interested, but we know not everyone's so motivated to get through all of that information. So what we did was we also condensed it into a one-pager, and this just has a few quick bullet points about those topic areas we isolated. and then some suggestions about what school districts could do to work with after-school programs in those areas. So those are our resources to get folks familiarized with what ESSA is and where the links are with after school. We also created this one-pager to help programs figure out, now that they have these strategies, what are they going to do with them? And so we suggest folks use them to first educate themselves, but then that you can really start outreach at various levels. Sometimes that might be with school leadership, sometimes it might be with a local school board, or sometimes it might be wanting to take action at a state level. And so we created some suggestions for how you might start doing all of these things in this one-pager as well. We also created sample letters that you can email or send to school district officials if you want to request a meeting to discuss more about ESSA. And then finally, one of our resources that we developed is this program one-pager. We find that sometimes programs have brochures for parents that don't always speak as well kind of to an advocacy setting. And so we created this template that if you're going to a meeting, we want you to have that information about your program ready, things like the services you offer, any evaluation data, things of that nature. And so we created this template so programs could drop their information in there and then bring it to their meeting, kind of ready to brag about all the wonderful work that they're doing. And then once you're in the meeting, we highlighted some talking points to hit as well. So you can see, we spent a lot of time thinking about these resources, and we just want the field to feel empowered and prepared when they go into these meetings. If you're interested in borrowing any of these resources or seeing them further, they're all on our website as well, actnowillinois.org. And you can, feel free to reach out to me or kind of go through some of these resources on our website as well, too. We hope that from us going through all of this work that it's also helpful not only to other providers in Illinois, but other states as well.